Let me show you something hidden for thousands of years. The Temple Mount, Jerusalem, has never been excavated, but an illegal construction project 20 years ago opened the door to some major discovery. Archaeologists weren't supposed to be scanning beneath the Temple Mount at all, yet in 2024, an unauthorized AI survey captured something that no one can now explain. A sealed chamber carved into solid bedrock, perfectly preserved for nearly 3,000 years. We have uncovered one of the most meaningful items that is a witness to one of the most dramatic events in the history of Jewish people. Inside it lay a lead capsule containing an ancient scroll unlike anything ever found in Jerusalem. When experts tried to translate the first visible words, they froze. The message wasn't about faith or history. It was a warning. The forbidden dig beneath the mount. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came from the scanners. The radar images did not look like ordinary soil or random ruins. They showed straight lines, perfect angles, and deep symmetrical patterns hidden far below Jerusalem's Temple Mount. It looked like a structure that should not exist, buried beneath one of the holiest and most contested sites on the planet. When the researchers realized what they were seeing, no one spoke for several minutes. They understood what it meant. They had just seen something that human eyes were never supposed to see. The Temple Mount, or Haram al-Sharif as Muslims call it, has been a sacred flashpoint for more than 3,000 years. It is the heart of 3 major religions and the most politically sensitive ground on earth. For Jews, it is the site where Solomon's temple and later the Second Temple once stood. According to the Hebrew Bible, the inner chamber of the temple, known as the Holy of Holies, held the very presence of God. For Muslims, the same ground is where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven during the night journey, making it one of Islam's most revered locations. Even walking on the mount is forbidden to many Jewish believers because no one knows the exact location of the Holy of Holies. To step on that space by accident would be a serious act of desecration. For Muslims, allowing anyone to dig under the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Dome of the Rock would be a violation of their faith and history. This is why no excavation has ever been legally allowed beneath the Temple Mount. In the late 19th century, British explorer Charles Warren tried to find the physical remains of Solomon's Temple. He used ropes and torches to descend into ancient water tunnels around the mount, but he was forbidden to break ground beneath the sacred platform itself. His work revealed shafts, hidden passages, and massive stone walls, proving that a complex world existed under Jerusalem's surface. Yet he was forced to stop before reaching the mount. That limitation remained in place for more than a century. Archaeologists could only guess what was buried there. Between 2021 and 2024, a new generation of researchers found a way to look beneath the mount without disturbing a single stone. They combined ground-penetrating radar, which sends harmless radio waves deep into the earth, with artificial intelligence capable of processing enormous amounts of geological data. The AI compared thousands of modern scans with historical maps drawn by British surveyors almost 100 years ago. The results began as faint blurs, but within hours, distinct geometric outlines appeared on their screens. These were not natural formations. They were man-made chambers buried more than 30 feet below the surface. The patterns were too orderly, too precise to be anything else. At first, the team thought they had found another layer of Jerusalem's ancient water system. But as the scans continued, the AI detected enclosed voids that were completely sealed off. There were no tunnels leading in or out, and no signs that anyone had touched them in nearly 3,000 years. The data showed a network of rooms built directly beneath the Temple Mount platform. That meant these chambers were older than Herod's expansions, older than the Second Temple, and possibly even older than the time of King Solomon himself. The deeper the scan went, the clearer the picture became. There was intelligent design behind it. The rooms were positioned with mathematical precision, aligned perfectly with the mount's eastern wall. It was as if an entire structure had been hidden under the holiest site on earth. The researchers understood the danger immediately. If news of this discovery leaked, it could ignite religious and political chaos. The Temple Mount has triggered violence before. In 1996, when Israeli authorities opened a tunnel near the mount, it sparked deadly riots that left more than 70 people dead across Jerusalem and the West Bank. Even a rumor about underground excavations has the power to bring the city to the edge of war. This memory haunted the scientists as they looked at the radar data. They knew that if the existence of sealed chambers beneath the mount became public, the result could be catastrophic. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Someone had built these chambers and then made sure no one would ever enter them again. It was here, deep below the holiest site on earth, that archaeologists would later uncover what is now known as the Secret Scroll. But before they even reached that discovery, their scanners led them to something equally haunting: a shrine frozen in stone for 2,800 years, waiting to be found. The shrine that shouldn't exist. When archaeologists first lowered the scanning probe into the sealed chamber, they expected rubble and silence. What appeared on their screens instead made one of the lead researchers step back in disbelief. The chamber was not a ruin, it was intact. The walls, floor, and ceiling had not shifted even an inch in over 2,000 years. Inside, the sensors captured clear images of altars, stone basins, and what looked like ritual tools still resting in place, as if the worshippers had left one evening and never returned. The team quickly realized they were looking at a fully preserved shrine, untouched since the 8th century BCE. No one had expected to find an entire underground sanctuary hidden directly beneath the Temple Mount. Detailed imaging revealed 8 connected rooms carved precisely into the limestone bedrock. Each room followed a perfect symmetrical pattern, forming a complex layout that matched no known design from Jerusalem's surface temples. The altars showed dense reflective patches that appeared in the radar and spectral scans, which suggested hardened organic residue. Using high-resolution imaging, the team compared these readings with data from other excavated Iron Age shrines. The digital match was almost identical to animal fat and olive oil signatures, both known ingredients in ancient sacrifices. Traces of incense were also detected, along with crushed olive pits used in ritual lamps. The preservation was astonishing. Earthquakes, conquests, and centuries of construction above had not damaged this underground complex. It was as if time had deliberately avoided it. As the team examined the digital reconstructions, they realized that these chambers represented a form of worship that history had erased. The discovery directly challenged the biblical account of King Hezekiah's religious reforms. According to Scripture, Hezekiah destroyed every rival shrine in Judah to centralize worship in the Temple of Jerusalem. The Bible specifically states that he removed the high places, broke the sacred pillars, and cut down the Asherah poles to eliminate local cults. Yet this newly found shrine under the Temple Mount was not destroyed. It had been sealed. The evidence suggested that someone within the priesthood had hidden it intentionally rather than demolishing it. Archaeologists began comparing the site with other discoveries from ancient Judah. At Tel Arad, another sealed temple had been found in the desert with twin altars. The existence of those dual altars proved that multiple worship systems coexisted at the same time, despite official efforts to suppress them. Inscriptions discovered at Countelet at Rud in the Sinai Desert referred to Yahweh and his Asherah. But the next discovery proved they were terribly wrong. As the image sharpened, strange markings began to appear along the curved wall. The AI identified them as a primitive form of Paleo-Hebrew, one of the oldest known scripts in the region. Linguists translated the words almost immediately. The message was short, and it was chilling. It read, "Here the warden stands guard. Do not open." The team fell silent. No one could understand why a sacred chamber beneath the Temple Mount would carry a warning like that. Ancient inscriptions usually praised God or described offerings. This one sounded like a threat. Inside the sealed space, the radar detected several distinct objects. In the center stood a large stone basin carved from a single block of rock. Around it lay smaller artifacts that looked like oil lamps. Their shapes were unusual, simpler than any from known temple periods, suggesting they belonged to a much earlier era. Spectral imaging identified traces of substances inside the basin. It contained particles of lead and mercury, both linked in ancient cultures to binding rituals and purification rites meant to trap or neutralize spiritual forces. Chemical readings also showed faint remnants of incense made from plants like mandrake and henbane, known in antiquity for their sedative and hallucinogenic effects. These materials had no connection to ordinary worship. They were associated with protection and containment. Historians compared the findings with other ancient texts. The Book of Enoch describes watchers, divine beings imprisoned beneath the earth. Mesopotamian myths speak of entities sealed away by priests using sacred metals. Even the Dead Sea Scrolls' War Scroll mentions a warden of the pit, a figure charged with guarding those who defied heaven. The similarities were impossible to ignore. Whatever purpose this chamber served, it was not built to welcome the divine. It was built to hold something back. The AI ran acoustic modeling to simulate how sound would move inside the circular chamber. The results added another layer of fear. The chamber was designed to trap vibration, keeping energy contained inside. It acted almost like an ancient soundproof vault. Every piece of evidence pointed toward the same terrifying conclusion. This was not a temple chamber. It was a prison cell built to lock away something that was never meant to be released. The researchers could not go further without breaking the seal, and that was out of the question. Religious authorities and government officials quickly restricted access to all new data. The site was classified within days. But one detail kept circulating among the scientists who had seen the scans. According to them, linguistic consultants had decoded a few additional words from the scroll's damaged edges. Those partial lines mentioned the fallen who sleep beneath Zion. The reference sent shockwaves through both religious and academic circles. In biblical tradition, the fallen refers to the Nephilim, mysterious beings described in Genesis 6 as the offspring of divine entities and humans. Later texts say they were imprisoned in darkness until judgment. If the scroll was truly a binding text referring to these beings, it meant the Temple Mount could have been built over the place where they were sealed. Scholars struggled to process the implications. Some argued that it might connect to the Book of Giants, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls that describes the Nephilim awaiting punishment underground.
Others pointed to older Mesopotamian sources that mentioned the Anunnaki, powerful deities or spirits banished to the underworld after defying the higher gods. The parallels were disturbing. The languages were different, but the story was the same. Divine or semi-divine beings locked beneath the earth, watched over by guardians. The phrase, "the warden stands guard" from the chamber inscription suddenly seemed more literal than symbolic. If this connection was true, the cultural consequences would be enormous. The Temple Mount is the single most sacred location in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. If it was revealed that its foundation was not a sanctuary, but a containment structure for something ancient and forbidden, the shock would be unprecedented. Every major belief system built around the Mount's holiness would be thrown into crisis. Historians pointed out that this was not the first time legends hinted at such a possibility. Beneath the Dome of the Rock lies a natural cave, long known as the Well of Souls, where ancient traditions claim the spirits of the dead wait for judgment. Ethiopian scripture mentions Ionian pits beneath sacred mountains where the watchers were chained. Even Islamic texts describe the mount as a place between worlds, where heaven and earth meet. Across cultures and eras, holy ground has often been linked with the idea of sealing or guarding something powerful. As of now, the scroll lies sealed beneath Jerusalem's bedrock, guarded by silence, fear, and faith itself. But if the seal ever breaks, humanity may finally learn the reason the Temple Mount was built, not to praise heaven, but to keep hell contained. What do you think about the secret scroll? Comment down below. Thanks for watching.